Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome back to the Spark is Love. This is your host, Casey Pacheco, and I have a very, very special guest coming to the stage. She is the founder, the owner, the co-starter of Power Up Nursing, and they are doing phenomenal things in terms of nurse well-being, nurse. I'm just gonna bring her in. Welcome to the stage, Tanya Abreu. Welcome, welcome.
Oh, thanks, Casey. We've been friends, colleagues, co-visionaries for years. I love what you're doing with this podcast, with the whole Spark is Love. It's that whole caring science. I love it, Case.
Yes, I've been thinking, I said, I've known you for so long, being such an advocate for nurses. You have been with Power Up Nursing, really pulling nurses into this space of empowerment and well-being for such a long time. You actually serve as a mentor for me. We've run into each other at conferences. We've broken bread because you're here in Florida, so we meet a lot together. And I just really consider you a dear friend and a phenomenal woman. So thank you for coming on the podcast.
Oh, thank you so much, Casey. I feel the same about you. And it's been a really fun 2.5 years, I think, since we've known each other. And in today's time, 2.5 years of friendship and collegial relationship is an eternity, let me tell you.
Yes, yes, yes. I was thinking, I say, oh my gosh, I've because I was with the nurses in charge, but I knew you before then because
Mhm.
you actually had a conference. So you've been doing these conferences. And what amazed me about you is that you're not even a nurse and you are just like such an advocate for nurses.
Yeah, I think I'm an advocate for communities of people that are passionate about improving the world. And I've worked in hospitals and in healthcare for 37 years.
Mhm.
My original dream was to be an English professor and a poet. And somehow the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center, McGee Women's Hospital, recruited me to run international outreach. And I just caught this bug that words
Yes,
can create change.
yes.
And, healthcare, of course, thinks about surgery and
Mhm.
medications and physical therapy, but at the essence, it's about how we talk to each other. It's
Mhm.
about how we write, how we speak, how we hear, and how we share. And so I am proud to take my graduate degrees in English, and 34 years ago said it is time to work globally on healthcare. And I worked in women's health at the university. I became a member of the executive C-suite there. I ran an amazing women's health program for 16 years, sold that, took a break and healed myself from advanced cancer, and then got back into the C-suite of a local, well, not so local, it's the Treasure Coast system of parish healthcare in the C-suite, and then decided during COVID that I wanted to go back to creating networks of hospitals and communities of nurses that want to change not just the United States, but the way healthcare is delivered globally.
Yes, yes. See, I told you she was a phenomenal woman.
Oh,
I'm so excited to have you here. You have such good expertise. You have such a diverse and a different perspective from the average nurse of healthcare. So this is why I prepared some rapid questions. Are you ready? Are you ready for
oh,
some
I
rapid?
love rapid questions. Do they come with pictures?
Oh no, I really got to upgrade and get some pictures. No, so my first question for you, Tanya, is, as someone who deeply experienced well, first, before I even get there, let's talk about nurses. What do you believe the role that nurses play in transforming? Because you worked with nurses transforming healthcare. They've been part of Power Up Nursing. What do you believe about nurses transforming healthcare to shift the atmosphere or the landscape of our current healthcare system?
I think it's totally by and I don't want to offend any nurses, but I think it's totally by accident. that nurses have fallen into a position where they can take over. And the accident is economic. The accident is
Mm,
the system cannot hold the payment schedules for specialty physicians, for perhaps unnecessary surgeries and procedures. And the system has swung from making money from physician driven diagnosis and treatments
mhm,
to preventing expensive surgeries and treatments, and preventive medicine. And nurses, of course, have always sat at the table saying, let's do some complementary medicine. And of course, they
mhm.
were laughed at. We don't want to use a room of our hospital as a relaxation room when we can put yet another machine in there and take
Yeah.
more MRIs that may or may not be necessary. I'm being a little cynical. It's the end of a long day. But nurses have always been seen as mouthpieces for a different type of medicine. I always like to say doctors prescribe pharmaceuticals, surgery, or more appointments with that doctor. Those are the prescriptions, right?
Mhm,
And I like to say that nurses prescribe lifestyle and hope. And it may sound a little wishy washy, but what we're learning in science is that lifestyle and hope is the foundation of spectacular vitality and longevity. So, nurses, I think, accidentally, economically, have fallen into a position where they can actually yield the power and wield the power and change things, not only to have power, but to have better outcomes and to return healthcare to a rightful business, right? Not just
mhm.
money, but actually making money, as any healthcare system should do. We can't operate in the red. So nurses are here. Nurses are prescribing systemic lifestyle changes. They are working with their minds, their knowledge, right along with their heart and their perseverance. And that is something they've prepared for, right? Since
Mhm,
the beginning of
mhm.
nursing,
Yes.
but it's just not been feasible in the boardroom or strategic planning sessions of hospitals, just simply because it didn't make money before.
So, do you think in the future will make money for nurses?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I've begun to really see models that I just never thought would happen, where nurse practitioners are turning practices upside down by going into it and telling the doctor to leave, sign over the practice, turning it into kind of digital wellness. I like to call it mentoring, not coaching,
Mhm,
and being able to prescribe and shepherd real healthcare,
mhm,
and make very, very good money at it.
mhm,
So, I mean, I know you know that I have a side business. Nursing is my passion, not exactly profitable yet. And so my side business has been in remote patient monitoring and chronic care management, and that's nurse
mhm.
led, and it's
Yeah.
reimbursable $300, $400, $500 a month per patient for doing
Mhm.
what a nurse does anyhow.
Yeah.
Talk to the patient, educate the patient, learn about where the gaps are in the patient's health.
What do you see as, because a lot of nurses are starting up their own care management model, and the potential for this to be really effective is so high. But what are some skills that you, from your perspective, especially being in the C-suite, where do you think nurses really can beef up their skills on so that they can turn a profit and they can have their entrepreneurial endeavors really be successful and
It
not just
sucks. It
hobbies?
sucks to be an entrepreneur. Number one, it takes a very rare person,
Mhm,
and usually with good family support and a good, I would say, financier in
Mhm.
order to make an entrepreneur live a healthy, easier lifestyle. Entrepreneurship is difficult, and I keep seeing
Mhm.
all this advertising nurses leave the bedside and become an
Yeah.
entrepreneur.
Yeah.
But the first skill set that you need to have is a reality check. It is not
Mm.
it is not freedom. It is not you can do what you want to do whenever you want to do it because you're your own boss. You know, the last time I
Mhm.
had a day off without guilt was probably 4 years ago, right? And I know that will change maybe in another 2 years, but it's not an easy lifestyle. But what's cool about it is that if you believe there's a purpose behind what you're trying to do, it becomes a vocation. So the first thing
Mhm.
I would say to all nurses is do a reality check. Do you have the patience? Do you have the economic margin in your life?
Mhm.
Not 3 months saved in the bank, but perhaps
Mhm.
3 years.
Yes.
Or do you have an angel investor or a family of angel investors who believe in your idea? The
Mhm.
second skill set that I had missing, and I'm not a nurse, no, I know nurses have missing, is you need a little mini MBA. You need to understand profit and loss. You need to understand projections. You need to understand where you can go wrong. You need to understand the algorithms behind trying to make money from your dream. And then, lastly, I think I did mention patience and I did mention the little mini MBA, but I think lastly, nurses need to understand that it is more about administration than their purpose and their vision, that it becomes a whole lot of being stuck in the quicksand of everyday operations.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
This is powerful. And I'm just going to be very transparent with the audience because I met you, and I think it's more like 3.5 years ago, almost 4
Really?
years.
Oh my gosh, time is.
Time goes by so
Yeah.
quickly. And I remember in my passion that I met you, right after the pandemic, and you were trying to help me with some of these. And I think, like so many nurses, we get so passionate about our ideas and our power to make change that we get out there. But there are concrete things that we do need to take into consideration, right?
And it's
Because you're
hard.
going to end up broke. You're going to end up broke. And what I want to say, because you and I are both in this space of we want better, but we also need to take care of ourselves.
Mm,
You can end up working harder for yourself for way less pay than making an impact where you are and gradually pivoting or supporting someone like yourself who is doing a startup and have more resources. Like you really have to weigh where you are being an
mhm,
entrepreneur because some
mhm.
people can do it full fledged, but not everyone can.
And there's a cliche, no man or woman is an island unto themselves. And
Exactly.
I want to say this because maybe this is one of the skill sets that nurses need. You need to be less competitive. One of the very difficult things I see a lot, whether it's at conferences or whether people call me to find out what we're doing in nurse well-being and what the power of strategy really is that there's this underlying sense of, well, we're doing something better, but we just wanted to check in. And it's okay to be very proud of what you're doing, but there is enough room for everybody, and there
Mhm.
is amazing profitability and collaboration. And it
Mhm.
makes, listen, I'm an old entrepreneur. My first company sold for millions of dollars, and I am so grateful for the partners I had, for the hospitals who supported me with Spirit of Women, for the pharma and med companies. I did not do that by myself. When we sold it, we had 40 employees and we were rocking and rolling, but it was never easy, and we never competed with anybody. Women's health
Mhm.
consulting groups are like, you're our competitor. And we would say, no, come to our meetings. Talk about what you do, because collaboration is acceleration. And if
Yes.
I would ask every nurse to understand this, Collaboration is acceleration, whether you're a bedside nurse or whether you're trying to open your own coaching business in a saturated market.
This is profound.
Oh,
Collaboration is acceleration. Those are like sacred words. I really love that you're saying this. You know, I work in the space of marketing where I help nurses to become more visible, whether it's on LinkedIn or just within themselves so they can see themselves. You, as a experienced entrepreneur, do you have any words to say about marketing and visibility?
it's changed so much in the past 2 decades, right?
Mhm,
It used to be number one, you wanted to talk about your product, or then you wanted to make emotional connections, then you wanted to do relationship marketing. And I think right now, you need to earn people's trust.
yes.
You need to be seen as not another fly by night content generator, podcast producer, sponsorship seeker. You need to really have presence as
Mhm,
somebody who is being honest and can admit a mistake, can
mhm,
backtrack and fix it, can ask for help, knows that their product is fantastic, but knows that it can also be better. It's
mhm,
about, I would say that it's trust marketing now. How
mhm,
do we get people to trust when there's just so much noise everywhere? Like
yeah.
everywhere you look, I said to myself the other day, I think I don't even want to go on LinkedIn anymore, because if I see another post about nurse resilience or nurse well-being or nurse coaching or nurse,
Mm,
it's boring. How
yeah.
do you cut through all of that to find something that is crazy authentic and effective?
Mhm.
That's
Yes.
hard. It demands a new
Yes.
kind of marketing. And Casey, you market from the authentic. Sometimes you just bleed authenticity, and it's sometimes hard to watch, but it's always real.
Yeah. You know, Tanya, I really do think this goes right into what you were talking about with collaboration, because I do believe as a profession, nurses who get into business, nurses who jump on LinkedIn, they
Mhm.
want to make a change. They
Mhm.
want something different. I think sometimes it's difficult because you have experts, even in the marketing, and they say, do it this way. You have to post this amount of times. You have to say this. You have to show up. And then you also have on the flip end nurses who have so much value, but they're working systems that they sign like ironclad contracts. They can't even probably say their name in public because they're owned by the company, and they have so much to offer in terms of insight and value, but they can't promote themselves as a brand or their
Mhm.
business as a brand. So
Mhm.
you have both sides happening, and I really think that there is a space for us to work together. And
Mhm.
because those who have freeness of speech, they can't do it alone. You still need to have the relevance of inside what's going on in the hospital system or healthcare systems. You
Right.
need
And
both.
I think it's really a mistake for us to vilify hospitals, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because hospitals really are the center of community health. And when I first started, and you were at our very first symposium in Orlando, when we first started, there were nurses in there said, no, no, we don't want hospitals in the room. We don't want hospitals.
Mm.
Hospitals are the enemy. Now, remember, it was right after COVID, and a
Yeah.
lot of nurses felt that the hospitals did them dirty, didn't appreciate what was gone through. But the truth of the matter is, hospitals really are the cornerstone of community health. And
Mm.
hospitals are obligated and incentivized to treat their nurses and document that they're treating their nurses well, that they're training their nurses, that they're advancing their nurses. And nurses just need to be aware of that, because we nurses for so long have settled for just the checklist. The hospitals can, oh
Mm.
yeah, you were at this meeting, you were here, but
Yeah.
no, you really didn't get mentored the way that you wanted to get mentored. No, you really didn't get the training that made you a leader. And now I think we can ask hospitals to step up to those mandates. I mean, that's what Power Up is all about. We go in and our friends are hospitals, but our
Mhm.
beneficiaries are nurses and their patients, right?
Mhm.
So we partner with hospitals to help them do all the check marks on their obligatory. Well,
Mhm.
we have to have a residency program for new nurses. We have to have a demonstration that they're engaged with policy and compliance, OSHA, safety. They have to do all that.
Mhm.
But we want to provide a way that nurses will really enjoy that stuff,
Yeah.
learn that stuff,
Mhm.
share it, become a culture of pride and power within that hospital. So that's
Mhm.
my that's my motive, is not just to help
Yeah.
nurses feel better, but
Yes.
to empower nurses by putting them first at hospitals, and not
Mhm.
just a checklist of what you got to do for your nurses, but have your nurses run what needs to be done. And that's very different than what's out there right now.
It is. And I think you have a unique perspective, Tanya, because a lot of nurses, and I'll be honest, I didn't understand a lot of the decisions being made until I actually started a business of my own and realized, no, Casey, you cannot pay everybody what they want to be paid because you're gonna not have money to operate. So when I got into business, and I would say I got to understand some of the difficult decisions that at the bedside I didn't necessarily understood
Mhm.
or agreed with. Could you speak to a little bit of what the nurse who is financially astute or knows a little bit more about business, how they could really sit in this space of bringing unity to whatever transformation to healthcare?
Wow, that's a really deep question, right? Because we know that financial intelligence is not a common characteristic of nurses,
Mhm,
right?
mhm, mhm,
Nurses always have. It has nothing to do with COVID. It's always been
mhm.
burnout. Burnout is the nature
Yeah.
of being a nurse. When you're in nursing school, when you're in
Mhm,
medical school, it's all about overworking the students so they understand the reality of their jobs. Um, and so I think people who are under a lot of trauma and stress, they don't do well with money. I think that's a natural thing. You just,
ooh,
oh, well, no, it's
good
proven, right?
correlation. Yeah,
Right. You
that's
don't
deep.
have, it's not easy to save for a rainy day when every day is a rainy day, right? Your
Yeah.
body thinks so, even
Your
though,
body, nervous system, the
yeah,
nervous system's on fire.
mhm. But
Mm.
then there are some brilliant nurse leaders who have true business sense. They know how to make money. They know how to treat people with dignity and with pride and with acknowledging who they are, and not, defiling their weaknesses, and being able to see emotional intelligence. We work with a
Mhm.
woman, Marcia, who really has an amazing program with Wiley on who are you emotionally intelligent, right? And
Mhm.
I think you find when you are emotionally intelligent, when you do have a good degree of confidence, you also tend to be financially intelligent as well. And nurses that are able to balance those worlds, they're able to get into business, and they're able to quantify. This is the coolest part of what we just started doing with my business. You're able to quantify what doing the right thing means to the bottom line. Right now, Power Up Nursing has an app that is attached to every nurse at a hospital that measures her well being, so that she has the data on her stress, her sleep, her HRV of her heart, her skin temperature, her oxygenation, all that stuff. That
Mhm.
information gets de identified and collectively put on a platform for the hospital leadership in real time to understand why and how their nurses are performing, why their retention is up or down, why medical error is up or down, so that you can, as a leader, provide the human skills that are necessary for you to make money and for you to keep your nurses happy. That's
Mhm.
unprecedented, right? It really is. So now a nurse with business sense can say, I can now show the return on investment on this good work that I want to do.
Mhm.
Or I can show the return on investment in training my nurses in Caritas, in Gene Watson's program in Caring Science, right? It's so cool. And this is all,
Mhm.
of course, enabled by AI and data. Could never
Yes.
do this before. But right now, we can do the right thing and prove that it makes money. And if you have any sense of being able to manipulate data to show the truth of that, you're right in the right place in hospital administration right now.
I think we were together at Health, and
Hmm.
you were there. You were one of the exhibitors at Health. And I love that you, after 30 something years in healthcare, you are keeping up with the times. You are writing this, and this is going to be big. I think it's actually futuristic. But I think I love the connection that you're making for Power Up Nurses to be a leader in technology as well as holistic well-being of the nurse. You're doing a very interesting pair there.
And we're doing something else that's a lot of fun. Today, we
Oh,
announced that any hospital that wants a program that we're designing will give them a complete free turnkey kit to host in May 2026 a dance out celebrating nurses in their hospitals. And we've had 2 nursing schools sign up. And really, what it's about is okay, yeah, we have all this data, we have all
mhm,
this online training, we have well-being on our fingers, literally, in our cell phones. We have all this. But you know what we really also do need is connection, right?
we
Because
do.
connectivity is not connection. We know that our children are, I mean, I don't want to get on a soapbox, but killing themselves from lack of real connection.
Mhm,
They're connectivity, but they're not
mhm,
emotionally connected. So we're pulling together events, monthly events, quarterly events at hospitals around the country that bring nurses together to really bring joy back, to really bring health is about connecting, dancing, celebrating, seeing each other as human beings outside of the surgical suite, outside of the ICU, outside of the maternity ward, and really beginning to reclaim culture,
mhm,
nursing
mhm,
culture. When I first
mhm,
went to the Women's Hospital, it blew me away. All I wanted to do was travel with the nurses. Not only did we save babies in Russia and train midwives in Russia, but we had the best saunas with vodka in the middle of nowhere and still got up the next day at 5 o'clock to deliver babies. That was the
mhm,
life that I believed every nurse had, that they had passion,
mhm,
that they were allowed to be human beings, and a community that worked their butts off.
mhm,
That's kind of not what I feel anymore, but I don't
mhm,
think it's because nurses don't want it. I just think the
mhm.
system has taken it away from them.
And I think it comes back to what you said, trust. Because
Mhm.
without trust, you could be very connected, but you're not gonna really be connected. And I'd say, like, you go to conferences and you meet all these people and you connect with them on LinkedIn, but do you follow up with them? Do you hear up? Do you maintain real? You have a community, but is it a real community? Do you have trust? Are you nurturing trust? And this is something about your community, Tanya, because you, for such a long time, money no money, you have had loyal nurses who've just stuck by your side
How
to really
beautiful is
bring
that?
this.
How
It's
beautiful is
beautiful.
that?
It's beautiful.
I have nurses working 20, 30 hours a week on our advisory board. Dr. Kimberly Delbo, uh,
Yeah.
Rosa Hart was such an inspiration in the very beginning of things. People just gave. Leanne Meyer, one of my co-founders,
Oh,
gave
yeah.
everything, from her heart, from her mind, from her pocketbook. I have Albert Rodriguez. She's a PhD
Yeah.
neuroscientist. I'm naming people and I'm forgetting people, so I'm going to stop naming people. But Cheryl Field, who just retired, she's a senior care nurse that is just top premier people. They just
Mhm.
don't stop believing. There were times when I was like, I need to get a job. I need to feel like I get up every day and there's an ending,
Mhm.
and there's a paycheck. You know this as an entrepreneur.
Yes.
I need that in
Mhm.
my life. And they
Mhm.
would just kind of hoist me up, find a sponsor, do some of my work. That's nursing community, Casey. Thank you for the kind
Yes.
word because they
That is
just hit my heart like a kick, right? Like an AED.
mhm. Yes.
That's what keeps me going
Yes.
every single day. That and my grandkids.
That is so beautiful, Tanya. And that is so I think you are very similar to me in that sometimes we look and you know, some people have financial currency, but other people, I think like you and I, we have social currency and it comes from the heart. People can tell when you really love them, when you really care about them, and when you want a true connection. And using the social currency to build this movement of power up nursing, I think is absolutely phenomenal. Do you have any words of wisdom to share with future power up nursing nurses out there?
Collaboration is acceleration. Personally, professionally, bedside.
Mhm.
Um, and the more we can create communities that are having fun together, that are able to laugh together, that are able to rally around somebody who has phenomenal tragedy happening in their life, and really without ego provide support, will always come out on top, will always come out as a successful professional. um,
Mhm.
I just really think that I can't thank the nurses around me enough. My old clients, who were all directors of nursing, are now CNOs and CNEs, and they come back to the table and they say, Tanya, I've been looking for meaning for the past 10 years. Let's build this together. And I'm learning every single day. For instance, I've reconnected with Dr. Brenda Jones, who is an executive leader at Kaiser Permanente Northern California division. And she came back and she said, Tanya, I've just been listening to the Power Up. I've been watching it. And I think I want to bring it to Gene Watson. It needs to be a caritas because for the first time, Gene's work is about self-care.
Yeah.
Self-care is what successful nursing is all about and what's hugely missing. Now, with Power Up, we can demonstrate with data, with AI, that self care optimizes not only a nurse well being, not only a nurse's individual performance, but patient outcomes and hospital optimization. It's huge. And I would never have thought of that without her. Another hospital came to me and said, I need Power Up Nursing to help with our new nurse to bedside program, our residency program. And
Mhm.
it has an app. Can you help us train? Can you do mentorship? Yes, we have
Mhm.
that all. But I've
Yeah.
never really thought about it as a strategy for training new nurses to become really great bedside nurses
Yeah.
without eating them alive. Right? We hear
Yeah.
about nurses eating their young.
True.
So I'm just blessed for the community of nurses, including yourself, Casey, that have rallied around me and Elba and Leanne and a few others that have been here since the beginning to say, don't give up. The traction will come. The partners will come. The collaborative efforts will pay off. And we're finally here. We've got six contracts out for 2026 to bring Power Up Nursing as a core strategy, business strategy that will produce everything from better HCAP scores and reimbursement to better retention and less turnover money. So we are rolling in data or expected data. We have an amazing potential vice president of experience that will take that data and make it sing nationally as real research that will benefit every nurse and every hospital that serves nurses. Nurses don't serve hospitals. Nurses serve patients, and hospitals serve nurses. And until we get that right, we won't have a good healthcare system. Oops, I can't hear you. Hold on. Can you hear me? I've lost the audio. Very odd. Okay. I literally have lost the audio, darling. I have no idea why. Um, I heard you perfectly before, but it's gone totally not good. I'm going to try. Mm-hmm.
Okay, Tanya, we're back. So you said nurses serve patients and hospitals serve nurses. I love that. I love that. Tanya, you have been such a blessing. I thank you for your time. Thank you for pouring your heart and your experience and your expertise in the field of nursing and just to transform healthcare. I do think that you will be a beneficiary and a recipient of all the love that you're giving.
I certainly appreciate that. I want your listeners and your viewers to know that you can get in touch with me by very simple, Tanya at powerupnursing.com. Very simple, Tanya at powerupnursing.com. You can learn more about what we do at www.powerupnursing.com or our LinkedIn or Facebook page. I would love to talk to your listeners and continue this discussion off of your wonderful podcast.
Absolutely. And you see, today I asked Tanya all of my questions. You know, I asked all of my questions. So if you have questions you want to ask Tanya, please leave it in the comments below. She is very easy to find, and I will be sure that I get her. And if it's too much, we'll just have her back again.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Casey.
Thank you so much for joining, and have a good one.